6 months ago, if someone had told me one dinner would change the direction of my life, I would have laughed. I would have smiled politely, adjusted my dress, and kept setting plates on the table the way I always did. Because for most of my life, I had become very good at keeping peace, very good at staying quiet, very good at making excuses for people who hurt me. But some moments don't ask for permission. Some moments arrive, look you in the eyes, and force you to choose who you are. My name is Ava, and this is the night I finally stopped choosing silence. My father's birthday celebration was supposed to be beautiful. The ballroom glowed beneath crystal chandeliers. Soft music floated through the air. Nearly 200 guests laughed and talked around tables dressed in gold and white. Emily sat beside me, wearing a pale blue dress she'd spent 2 weeks choosing. She was 14, old enough to notice tension, still young enough to wonder if difficult people could someday become kind. I wish I had protected that hope sooner. Emily had always been quiet around my family, not because she was shy, because children notice things adults pretend not to see. She noticed how my sister, Veronica, corrected everything she said, how my mother praised everyone else's children while forgetting hers, how certain smiles carried sharp edges. Still, she tried. She always tried. That night, she stood near the dessert table, helping arrange birthday cupcakes. I remember looking at her and thinking how grown up she suddenly seemed. Then I heard Veronica's voice, sharp, cold. "Seriously? You couldn't even do this right?" The room didn't stop. Not yet. People kept talking, kept eating, kept pretending. Emily turned around slowly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. And then Veronica laughed, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough. Enough to make my daughter shrink, enough to make every old wound inside me wake up. Then came the words I wish Emily had never heard. Like mother, like daughter. Silence. My mother lifted her glass and shook her head with a smile. She needs to learn sooner or later. I felt time stop, not because I was surprised, because I wasn't. That was the worst part. Deep down, I wasn't surprised at all. For years I had told myself, that's just how Veronica is. Mom doesn't mean it. Don't make things worse. Keep the peace. Smile through it. But peace built on pain isn't peace. It's surrender. Then something unexpected happened. A soft burst of feedback echoed through the room. Tiny, almost unnoticeable. I looked down, and my heart skipped. The microphone clipped to my dress was still on. Every word, every laugh, every cruel comment, the entire room had heard it. People slowly lowered their forks. Faces changed. Conversations stopped. The silence felt heavier than noise ever could. Veronica's expression shifted instantly. Mom looked around the room. For the first time all night, neither of them knew what to say. Emily looked up at me, and I saw something in her eyes that shattered me. Not anger, not embarrassment, confusion, as if she was asking, "Mom, why isn't anyone helping?" That question broke something open inside me. Daniel appeared beside us a few seconds later. My husband had been helping with the cake in another room. He looked from Emily's face to mine, then he understood. What happened? I swallowed. They hurt her. Just 3 words, but they carried years inside them. Daniel immediately wrapped his arms around Emily. "You okay, sweetheart?" She nodded. But children do something heartbreaking when they're hurting. They pretend, they smile, they say they're fine because they're afraid of making things harder. Then my father appeared, slow steps, hand resting on his cane. His eyes moved around the room, to Veronica, to my mother, then to Emily. "What happened?" he asked quietly. Nobody answered, because everyone already knew. They'd heard it. My father looked at Emily for a long moment. Then something changed in his face. Regret. Real regret. He walked over and knelt beside her, and his voice cracked. I'm sorry. Just that. I'm sorry. I had waited my entire life to hear someone in my family say those words. Not excuses, not explanations, not you misunderstood. Just, I'm sorry. My father stood and turned toward the room. I should have done better. No one moved. I should have protected my daughter years ago. I felt tears fill my eyes. Not because everything was suddenly fixed, because it wasn't. Years of hurt don't disappear in a moment. But truth had finally entered the room, and truth changes everything. My brother Stephen arrived shortly after. He'd flown in late and walked directly into the tension. After hearing what happened, he stood beside me without hesitation. I'm with you, he said. Simple words, powerful words. Because support doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just someone choosing not to look away. Emily squeezed my hand. Mom? I looked down. Her eyes were still red, still uncertain. Can we go home? Home. Not the ballroom, not the celebration, not the perfect family image everyone spent years protecting. Home. I smiled softly. Yeah, baby. We started walking toward the exit, but before we reached the doors, I stopped. I turned around. 200 people watched silently. I looked at my mother, at Veronica, at everyone. Then I said something I wish I'd said years ago. No child should ever have to earn love. The room stayed quiet. No child should ever feel small just to make someone else feel bigger. I looked at Emily, and no one gets to decide your worth. Her eyes filled again, but this time they weren't tears of humiliation. They were relief. Weeks passed after that night. Conversations happened, difficult ones, painful ones. Some apologies came, some never did. Not every relationship healed, not every wound closed. But something else happened. Something better. Emily smiled more. She laughed louder. She stopped shrinking herself. And so did I. Months later, while tucking her into bed, she looked up at me and asked, Mom? Yeah? Why didn't we leave sooner? I sat beside her quietly, because children deserve honest answers. For a long time, I said softly, I thought keeping people happy meant keeping families together. She stared at me. And now? I brushed hair from her face. Now I know love isn't supposed to hurt. She smiled, tiny, sleepy, safe. Then she whispered, I think we're stronger now. I kissed her forehead. No. I smiled. I know we are. Because sometimes family isn't the people who make you feel small. Sometimes family is who stands beside you when you finally stand up. And sometimes healing doesn't begin with forgiveness. Sometimes it begins with one simple decision, refusing to stay silent anymore.